live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com. This is The Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
Good, John. Wow. Ho-ho. Old Putin must be really shaking in his boots now. He's so pissed off Canada with his attack on Ukraine that the worst of all punishments has settled around his skinny little head, okay? Canada. That'll fix him. Canada, in the person of the much heralded, extremely skillful Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly, has summoned the Russian ambassador for a very stern lecture. Actually, according to the Joly office, she gave the ambassador, quote, a good dressing down.
That's a quote?
That's a direct quote. A good dressing down. That'll fix this slimy little bugger. A good dressing down from Melanie Joly. What could be worse than that, eh?
Oh, no.
Oh, God. She told a little fart stick that Canada will, quote, use all of our tools at our disposal to make sure these illegal acts are not left unpunished, unquote. The esteemed Melanie Joly. Now, if that doesn't make old Putin crap his pants, then I don't know what will. I mean, Canada going to use all of our tools? Doesn't get much scarier than that, folks, especially coming from the woman who so badly screwed up Canada Day celebrations a couple years ago. We still have people standing in line.
Oh, that's right.
This is the woman, don't forget, who once suggested that we move the new civic hospital to Tooney's pasture. And she is now dressing down the Russian ambassador. I have one problem. Does Melanie Joly have any idea where Ukraine is? Not likely, but what the hell? This is Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister. The Tooney Minister. Oh, God. One thing a little fuzzy in my mind is just exactly what tools does Canada have to straighten Putin out, okay? Now, is she thinking of hauling out the old Emergency Measures Act? It sure worked with the truckers, scared the bejesus out of them. That would, at least I would think, get Putin thinking, saying, oh, geez, the emergency, Canada is going to pull out the Emergency Measures Act. Maybe I better rethink, sending planes over. We could stop shipping maple syrup to Moscow. That'd fix them. Send our hockey players over there to pound the piss out of them again, like we did before. That'd straighten them out. I don't know. How about, and I think, John, that this has already been suggested, that we send over a few of our terrorist truckers. Okay?
There you go. Yep, that'll take care of it.
They scared the hell out of Trudeau. I'm not sure if old Putin is made of sterner stuff, but if anybody out there has any other suggestions as to what tools we could pull out, be careful now. Or is it a good dressing down from Melanie Joly? Is that sufficient? Is that enough punishment? I'll tell you, it would be for me. Maybe the fact that Trudeau is really, really, really mad at Putin is enough to knock some sense into that little guy, some sense into the Kremlin. I don't know. Because I'm going to tell you, when Trudeau gets mad at you, look out. Okay? Heaven help you. I mean, here is a guy who can turn truck horn honks into Nazi salutes, okay? That's how it happens. According to at least one liberal backbencher, honk honk really means Hail Hitler. Hey, you think I'm making this stuff up? I'm going to tell you, if Putin ever heard that, that'd scare the hell out of him. Say, "Ooh, geez, what kind?" We thought Trump was crazy, but I mean, this is the liberal government. We have liberal government members who think that a truck horn honk honk is Hail Hitler. Ooh, these people are liable to do anything. Maybe that's the answer, John. Maybe that's the answer. Ay, 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 ay. Actually, I'm not sure how scared the Russians would be of the Nazis. It seems to me they handled them pretty well a few years ago during what's called the Second World War. But whatever it is, when Trudeau says he's going to haul out all the tools, if he doesn't have the tools, well, he'll pretend he does, claim he does, and the media will just nod in agreement. Yes, he does, whether he's got them or not. Keep in mind, if he doesn't have them, he'll claim that he does, and the media will say, yeah, he does. But whatever. Thank God. You know what? I can't tell you how well I sleep at night just knowing that people like Melanie Joly and the honking liberals are out there looking after our interests. We have nothing to fear. Melanie Joly is giving them a good dressing down. You know what? I'm thinking, John, do you have the ability to translate this program into Russian?
Into Russian? No.
Yeah.
French, yes. Russian, no. I would have to find someone.
Could you?
We can do that.
Well, I'm thinking that if we could, transform this program, translate it into Russian, I mean, just think of what we did yesterday. I mean, yesterday when
there it is.
I mean, yesterday when I did this program, we had the Emergency Measures Act, and I was asking people, explain to me what justification there can be. So my information is that Trudeau gets wind of this and says something to the effect. This is third-hand information, but I'll pass it along anyway. So Trudeau finds out that Lowell Green is pissed off at him,
right?
And so he says to Gerald Butts, "What? Lowell Green is mad at me? He's pissed off at me? Jesus, I can't deal with that. I can't deal with that. So we better scrap the Emergency Measures Act. How soon can we do that? Well, so today we don't have the so what I'm saying is if I was able to get the Prime Minister of Canada, the esteemed Justin Trudeau, to within 24 hours to change his mind on the Emergency Measures Act. I mean, only 2 days ago or 3 days ago, he's in the House of Commons. He's prepared to risk his government, throw the country into an election in order to defend the Emergency Measures Act. And then 2 days later, after listening to the Lowell Green show, he said, "Ooh, I can't. I just can't deal with having Green pissed off at me."
I mean, you gave him a good old dressing down, Lowell. Look what happened.
Oh, I dressed him down terrible. And so what I'm thinking is, if I'm this powerful in Canada, maybe one of the tools that Trudeau has is me. Lots of people have called me a tool. There's no question about it. Whether it could be a tool in Russian, I don't know. I'll leave that up to you, folks. But actually, there's one other thing. I'll be glad to do this. I'll volunteer my services. Won't charge you anything. To get Putin to see some common sense here. Okay, but I have another thought. I'll do this as long as I don't have to go to Russia, because I'm going to tell you, one visit to Russia is enough for me. I'll never go back. This is a country, and I kid you not, this is a country where I was ambushed, chased, and threatened by a 300-pound woman, keeper of the urinal. Keeper of the urinal, 300-pound woman. True story.
Okay.
Debbie and I are in St. Petersburg. Okay, we made this terrible mistake. We went to Russia. We're in St. Petersburg, the Hermitage famous museum. It was okay. It was very crowded. Our guides kept saying, "Use your elbows," which we did, but everybody else did. So you end up with bruised ribs. But anyway, so I'm so anxious to get the hell out of the place that I walk right by a perfectly good urinal. At least I presume they're perfect. But I have to go. I have to go. So we're walking through the plaza. We've come out of the Hermitage, walking across, and I see this big, beautiful outdoor Johnny on the spot. I don't know what Johnny on the spot is in Russian, but it's a double urinal. Woo! Wonderful. I'm safe. So I rush in, open the door. And I'm standing there, doing what you do. Some men know what you do at a urinal. Suddenly, a door, not the front door, but the side door from the other part, smashes, comes open. This woman, she's about 4'2" and about 7 feet wide, about 7 feet wide, weighs about 300 pounds, holds out her hand. I'm still standing there doing what you do at the urinal. She says, "Ruble, ruble." I don't have any freaking rubles because they told me that they would take euros. So I pull I zip up as best I can and pull out a euro. Nine, ruble. Oh, I pull out €2. Nine, ruble. I said, I better get the hell out of here. She's going to attack me. So I throw open the door and I run. In those days, I could run a little bit. And she's after me across the plaza. And the worst part of it is my wife, Debbie, is laughing as this 300-pound woman is giving chase across a Russian plaza. Folks, that's the last time I'm ever going to Russia, believe me. But I'm thinking, if we could find that 300-pound keeper of the urinal and turn her loose on Putin or whatever the hell his name is, that might fix him. So if anybody knows the 300-pound keeper of the urinal, let me know. We'll see what she can do with Putin. Any ideas? Any thoughts on any of this, folks? This attack in the Ukraine is not a laughing matter.
No,
but it's tragic. There's no question about it. But I mean, here we go again with the West. The Russians are there dropping bombs, killing people, and the West is what? Same thing we did before the Second World War. We're talking. We're doing nothing. I mean, if we had taken action, if we'd listened to Churchill, we would never have been launched into the Second World War. So once again, I'm watching the UN debating last night. Words. Will the Russians drop bombs? It's tragic. But Melanie Joly is going to give him, or did, actually she did yesterday apparently, give him a good dressing down. You know what? It just seems to me that is so freaking typical of this country. Give him a good dressing down. That'll fix him. But don't do anything else. John, we got any response coming in yet?
We do, and thus far my favorite from Andre, who went and translated for you, "I am a tool" into Russian. We had that up on the screen a couple of minutes ago. So there it is. I am a tool. I can't speak Russian, but there it is on the screen for all to see. So.
Let me put that up again. Okay,
yep.
I'm a tool in Russian. Okay.
My favorite comment. Thank you, Andre. A little levity on what is obviously a very, very difficult day in the world right now. Barbara says, I watched the briefing. Hell, Krista Freeland was speaking Ukrainian. You could at least translate this show and send it to Putin. I believe the subtitles are available in Russian. So if somebody wants to read the show, they can. Pat says, we contained the Russian bear for 70 years, 30 since the USSR broke up. The bear is angry and rebuilding the empire.
No, you know what I think? I mean, I have no love for Trump. And you may have some thoughts, you may disagree, but I suspect, only a just suspicion, that none of this would have happened if Trump were the president of the United States. I think that Putin realizes that the West is weak. This guy Biden, he's extremely weak. Canada is going to do bugger all. Nobody else is going to do anything. But if there'd been a sort of a semi-madman like Trump, I really wonder if I believe the reason he's doing it because he knows that he can, and he'll get away with it. And you know what? Nobody will come to the rescue of poor Ukraine. Go ahead, John.
Text 613-413-2217. We invite your calls, of course. Lowell, I think you were right yesterday when you said Trudeau's lawyers were telling him to drop the act. Let me see. Barry chimes in to say the Russians trained German Shepherd dogs to attack German tanks in battle. I guess there was no SPCA back then to dress down the Russians. Wow. Kathy says Russia knows that both countries have weak leaders. Let me see. Let's go to some previous comments. Lynn says, I have closed captioning on, and your dressing down reads as dressing gown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're getting nowhere today, Lowell. Ann says, too funny that they turf the legislation they should not have enacted in the first place. But on the other hand, I can't believe the Trudeau Liberals have not made a voodoo doll of you yet. I also believe they know about your 2 p.m. podcast. You are legendary, and there are lots of liberal jerks on here making dumb comments.
Let's deal with that. This really is astonishing. It's 3 days ago. There is a vote in Parliament, a vote of confidence. As we all know, the NDP joined with the Liberals and voted to extend the Emergency Measures Act until the middle of March. The Conservatives and the Bloc, but mainly the Conservatives, were begging them, asking them, insisting that there was the emergency was over. Let's get on with life. Let's get back to normal. And Trudeau kept insisting that there was still grave danger out there, that there was still a national security risk. 3 days ago, Trudeau claimed repeatedly that he had to keep the Emergency Measures Act in force because there was, quote, an existing national security risk. So bad that we could freeze bank accounts, et cetera, jail people without warrant, without appeal, et cetera, all of these things. An unbelievable power. That's just 3 days ago. Then 2 days later, 2 days after this happens in Parliament, suddenly Trudeau changes his mind. So he put Parliament through all of this thing. The nation, and when he stands, he's talking about, well, we got to be less divisive here. We got to learn to love each other. And then this is the guy that was frightening Canadians. All kinds of people were frightened, believed that there really is a national security. 2 days later, no, there's no more national security risk. Ivan is on the phone. Go ahead, Ivan.
Yes, in regards to Ukraine, the issue here is the world can't really do anything. What they have to do is test the Ukrainian people's resolve. They have to send them arms. They have to send them intelligence. They have to, the Americans themselves have to use the communications, the satellite imagery to see, do the Ukrainians really want to fight? NATO isn't going to interfere. No one else is going to interfere. The Ukrainians have to do it for themselves.
Well, they are, and
the rest of the world can assist.
Well, no, but it's too late now, sir. They mean the attack is well.
Well,
underway.
I mean, it's too late, and it's not. But I mean, my family's from Eastern Europe. The partisans, in former Yugoslavia, were able to change the resolve of what happened there with the Nazis. The Ukrainian people themselves have to stand up. The Canadians, the Americans, the NATO nations have to. Partisan tactics, they work. They worked in Yugoslavia. They worked in Hungary. We have to send it to the Ukrainian people now.
I suspect,
before Kiev is taken over.
Further, you know what? You're dreaming in Technicolor. You're well intentioned, but you're
yes.
This is typical Western reaction. Well, we got to do this, we got to do that. It's too late.
The reality is, I know that it's too late. Again, from Eastern Europe, is that I know it's too late. But the hope of Ukrainians, the people there, is that something can still happen, that they can fight on the ground. Kiev is going to be taken over. Everyone knows it's going to be taken over. But the people of Ukraine have to know that, listen, we can start a partisan movement and we can rebel communication.
You know what? Can I tell you something? If I'm a Ukrainian and I'm being bombed right now, if I'm being attacked by this giant nation, and I hear words that, well, we gave the ambassador a good dressing down. I mean, you know what? I just weep.
Well, Melanie Jolie is a joke, right? You know that as well.
No, but I mean essentially that this is what the West is saying. Well, we're gonna give hell to them. That's essentially it, sir. And the Ukrainians know it. I got to move on. You know what?
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
But it's just so typical. Oh yeah, well, we got to do this and we got to do that. A little late. John, back to you, sir.
We got a lot of comments to get to, Lowell, but we've also got to get a word in here for Shields.
For Shields. Good comment.
Thanks.
Yes. I just want to once again talk about price, because this seems to be the deciding factor in many instances. There is a perception out there that you're going to get a better price in the big box stores. Maybe true sometimes, but in many times it's not. The fact of the matter is that if you look at Shields, you'll see that their cost of operation is lower in most cases than a big box store. They don't have the big high rent and so forth. They're up in Pakenham. They got a big warehouse there, but the cost of doing business is less. So in many cases, they're able to pass those savings on to you. They've been in business since 1947. They know what they're doing. If you look at their website, you will see a marvelous assortment. I mean, all of the major brands are there, different sizes. They'll even tell you the wattage, how much hydro that they take, and so forth. But primarily today, I'm just talking about check the price. You may be very surprised. And don't forget, it's in stock. There'll be no long delay. They'll have, if you order from Shields, in all probability, they'll have your appliance certainly before the end of next week. All right, John, back to you, sir.
All right, 613-413-2217 is the number. If you're watching on Facebook, on Twitch, on YouTube, on Twitter, you can post your comments wherever you normally post comments, and we'll put as many up on the screen as we can, and I will read as many as I can. All right, to the text. Maybe Trudeau could freeze Putin's bank accounts, LOL. But then the person says, how much are hard-earned taxpayers' dollars for their how much are the hard-earned taxpayers' dollars on for their 3-day debate, that emergency, just to revoke it a couple of days later? Did that make sense?
To me, it's not the cost so much. It's the strain that it places on the country. I mean, if the prime minister and the security minister and the police say, listen, we've got to maintain this because there is still a national security threat, that scares a lot of people. We don't need to be scared anymore in this country, okay? I mean, there's enough division, there's enough concern, enough frustration. We don't need that. And then, obviously when he's making these statements, he knows it's a lie. I mean, what happened in 2 days? Suddenly there is a national security risk, threat, and 2 days later there isn't? Well, maybe you better tell us what the hell happened here. But I mean, it's just it's the concern, the division, the angst that it's creating in the country. We don't need any more. Please go ahead, John.
All right, Kim has a question for you on Facebook. She says, what are your thoughts, Lowell, on the idea that the world banks have something to do with Trudeau dropping the EMA?
I have no idea. I just think that there are 2 lawsuits against them. Some civil suits are in the back. And not only that, I suspect that, much more important, I think the polls indicated, I think they did some polling and realized that very few people supported him in continuing with this. That's the only thing really, that when it comes to the Liberals, the only thing that matters to them are the polls. That pretty well dictates their policy. That's my feeling anyway. And by the way, here is Melanie Joly dressing down the Russian ambassador. And we're pretending that we're the good guys. Let me just point something out. We were the good guys. We tried over in Afghanistan. A number of our people were killed over there trying to bring freedom to Afghanis, particularly Afghani women. A number of our people were killed over there. We spent billions of dollars. And we recruited a number of Afghanis to help us. And in many cases, these Afghanis risked their lives. So what did we do when it was all over? We abandoned them. We brought some over here, a tiny fraction. There are still thousands of Afghanis who risked their lives to help us over there, and we just turned our backs on them. That's the way that this government deals with, go ahead, John.
A couple of follow-ups to that question and to your comment. Joshua says the fact that he revoked it so quickly after enacting it proves it was nothing more than a power grab. Then when the reaction was unfavorable, he saved his hide.
I think so.
Kerry said, or he thought the Senate will not pass it, so he didn't want to let it get to that vote. And Craig says, let's face it, Lowell, we have a liar-in-chief leading Canadians down the drain. Let's once and for all get rid of him and the next federal election. All right, Lisa has a few comments. Lisa, here we go. I'm not surprised about this invasion. G7 is a joke. UN is an even bigger joke. She adds, the West and Europe is weak and filled with bleeding heart nations with pseudo-communist leaders, including Trudeau. Putin seized an opportunity to take advantage of this. He basically threatened nuclear war with his statements about any nation interfering with his illegal takeover. And she has Trudeau government sent $500 million to Ukraine. Wonder how much of that will actually be spent fighting the Russians.
Good question. Probably very little.
Lori says, watching Putin right now, he's laughing. That's pretty weird at a time like this. He said sanctions will work. Okay. Dan says Trudeau is power mad. Putin following suit. Let me see. Coraline says should have sent troops into Ukraine last year instead of the border states like Latvia where our Canadian troops are.
And I just had a thought prompted by one of the texts.
Mm-hmm.
Ordinarily, we see the results of polls usually about every week, right? I don't know if you noticed or not, but we haven't seen a poll. I'm talking about a public opinion poll. I haven't seen one. I don't think since the Emergency Measures Act was enforced, and I just wonder if the reason we're not seeing these polls is because the media just simply doesn't want to show it to us because they show the Liberals slipping very badly. There was one poll that came out. I forget. It was a very obscure poll that indicated that since Bergen took over, that the Conservatives had gone ahead by 10 points. I don't know if this is true or not. But the regular poll, the major polls, I haven't seen. John, have you seen any? You follow this closely.
I have not, but I'm going to make a note to do a little homework and see if we can get on the show tomorrow.
I suspect the reason we're not seeing them is because they're not favorable to the Liberals.
I will look into that for you first chance.
Good.
All right, ready for more comments?
Yes, sir.
All right. Cheryl says Trudeau could have sent help when they asked for it, but no, his help to talk them through it. Tracy says Senator Don Plett's speech in the Senate was amazing. Please give a listen. He was the logical voice for the Canadian people. Ray says negotiations with Russia allowed Russia to stall for a time and get their invasion set up. United Nations discussions allow the world to stall for time and do nothing. Here's a text at 613-413-2217. Agree 100% about running a government on poll results as opposed to good rational thought. Michael says, Melody, our top official language is bureaucrat. The Russians must be absolutely terrified. Coraline says, in Freeland...
can I just stop you right there?
Yeah, of course.
The thought of someone as incompetent, as unskilled, as unintelligent, as frivolous, as Melanie Joly being our foreign affairs minister is freaking mind-boggling. This is a woman, I'm not sure what she has ever accomplished in her life. You must remember several years ago, the Canada Day celebration that she was in charge of. It was so badly, it was unbelievable. People were lined up going nowhere. She forgot to order Johnny on the spots. I mean, it was a disaster. I was there and I saw it was sad. It was kind of drizzling rain. People lined up for hours going nowhere. This was Melanie Joly. This is her organizational skills. Why to think that this woman represents this great country on the international stage is a disgrace. Go ahead, John.
No, you're right. The truckers were more organized as far as porta potties than she was.
Oh.
Canada 150th. It'll live in infamy. Coraline says, in Freeland spouting about democracy again. Patricia says, the saying, talk is cheap, comes to mind here. Another person asking if Trudeau is going to seize Putin's bank account. And Joshua says, what does Canada have that Russians actually need that would make them stop and think for even a split second?
Well, that's, actually it's laughable. So Melanie Joly gives, quote, a good dressing down. This is their phrase to the Russian ambassador. I mean, he must have walked out there just shaking his head and said, what the hell is that? That must have been his reaction. But then she said, Canada will use all the tools at its disposal. Well, what tools would they be? Good God. Go ahead, John.
Couple of texts to wrap things up. We are 29 minutes into the show. Craig says she should have asked the truckers to help her out. We want good organizing. You hire one of them. Thanks, Craig. Chris says, what's scary is that the only thing that's going to stop Russia is Putin when he has accomplished what he has set out to do. And Craig backs us up. He says he has not seen any of the polls out recently either.
Thank you all, folks. It's very worrisome what's happening there. It's very worrisome that we have people like Melanie Joly looking after our interests. That scares me as much as Putin, I think. Thank you all. We'll be back tomorrow.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.